Thanks everybody for joining this new Empower session Wednesday. So Empower Wednesday, as you might know, has been running weekly. We started in February and will be going on until May. Those webinars are open to all, and we design those in order to support international talents in Finland. The forces behind International Empower Wednesday, are International Working Women of Finland, the city of Turku, Turku Business Region, and Tempo Project by Human University. So we decided to put all our knowledge together and to give you these webinars in order to support you and to provide you all the key information to help you find your working life here in Finland. So we are, I think we are almost see the end of these webinars. As you see, it's been a long run, and today we talk about what is the right salary for the job together with Minna Frank. Sorry to see the mistakes in your surname, Minna. There is a C. Okay, apologize for that. Then next week we will talk about how to become a light entrepreneur with Tempo Project. We will have Ida Tons, and she will tell us more about the power of networking and how to do it correctly. And last but not least, Camilla Sosanova, she will tell us how to build our community here in Finland. So as I said today, it's Minna, and she will tell us what is the right salary for the job. We will have 1 hour together. Please feel free to write your question in the chat, and we will address them to Minna at the end of her presentation. So just a few words about Minna. She's a co-founder of Finnwards Oy. Her academic qualification include an MA in East Asian Studies from the University of Helsinki. She has a PhD in Chinese archaeology, which I find very interesting, from the University of California in Los Angeles. She is trained in brain-based coaching, and she's a certified global detective trainer. Minna herself, she's international talent, and that's why I'm even glad twice to have her here today, because she has either live or work for certain periods in a different country, among those US, which she will recognize Approximate, China, Germany, Syria, and Iceland, and she's currently living in Tallinn in Estonia with her family. So Minna herself said that she has 3 different stages in her professional life. So she dedicated a year in the academic career with the PhD in Chinese archaeology, as we mentioned before. Then she switched to the research management, and now she's her 3rd work life, as we said, and she's a cultural cross trainer, and she's an expat career and transitional coach. And this 3rd jacket, she represents herself today. So here you can find the contacts of Empower Wednesday. So we have the website that she kindly hosted by Career in Southwest Finland.fi. Please check this website, because there is even a session about jobs posted in English. Then we have our Facebook page, our LinkedIn page, and as I said, all those webinars are recorded, and we will find them in the YouTube channel of International Working Women in Finland. And if you need to contact me, please, I'm always available, and my mail is lucia@iwwof.com. Last bit, please, I will write soon a link in the chat. Is about the questionnaire Empower Wednesday. We would love to hear your feedbacks, because we would like to continue to help all international talents, and in order to do it the best way possible, we need your feedbacks, please. So take your time and answer to those. And now I'm happy to stop my screen, share my screen, and leave the floor to Minna. Thank you, Minna.
Hi, everybody. I can just feel a sneeze coming, so excuse me, sorry. I'm going to share my screen. I have a few slides that help me sort of focus when I talk to you, so just trying to get the right one up. So there you go. That should work now. So I'm just going to jump over my own introduction, since Lucia gave such a nice introduction already. So I'm just going to skip that and go right to the topic. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about salaries. I cannot give you definite answers on sort of any of these things, but I can certainly tell you where you can find the information so that you can come up with a salary range or come up with an idea of what to put down in job applications. But in addition to, okay, this is, anyway, I've had trouble with my computer today, so this slide is wrong. So we're going to talk about sort of what to put down or how you find a salary range for your job application. But then I also want to talk a little bit about the fact that how do you know if you're being paid fairly in your current job if you are currently employed. So that relates to pay transparency issues, and there have been some new developments in that field or that area. So we're going to touch upon that a little bit. Salaries in Finland are pretty much hidden. And I know many of you who've written job applications have probably felt really sort of frustrated with the fact that job applications or job ads usually ask for a salary expectation, or what would you want to have as a salary. And it's really difficult.
Sorry, Minna, if I interrupt you, but in the chat they are highlighting that we cannot see if you share your screen, if you did. We're not sure.
I did. Let me, okay, good. I'm having problems with, let me, where am I? Sorry.
Not you worry.
My computer crashed. No, yeah.
We still have
computer. I can't see anything now.
Still people are joining, so Minna, don't you worry.
Yeah, I had my computer sort of crashed today, so I'm having slight problems and so of course it's crashed. Let me try again. Okay. If I can't do this, then can you see it now?
Not yet.
Okay. So so as I was saying, you know, it's really frustrating when you see a job application or job ad and they want you to write down a salary range or your salary expectations. And how are you supposed to know what to put down? Just as in a sort of experiment, when I was preparing for this presentation, I went to Duunitori website and started going down job ads. I went to sort of different categories in terms of sales jobs, administration jobs, and things like that. And I went down the ads one by one and went through about 35 job ads. And there were 5 that gave a salary range or some sort of an impression of what the salary range for that job was. One job was for Duunitori themselves. And then there were 4 jobs by the Finnish Institute of Health and Welfare. And it makes sense that both of these organizations would have the salary range there because both of them promote certain type of workplace. They both aim to be and want to be a good place to work. So it makes sense. It's sort of some sort of, I think, some sort of a statement by both of these employers that they give the salary range. And then if you, for example, go to LinkedIn and search for the Finnish word palkkatoive, you will, which is the sort of salary wish or salary expectation, you run into a lot of discussions in Finnish where both job applicants and recruiters talk about this issue. And so the people go, okay, we should have the salary ranges in the ads. Why aren't they there? And then you have these arguments why those are excluded. And I think it's very much a Finnish phenomenon. But some of the arguments really, to me, don't make sense. But for example, some say that professionals should know the salary range of their profession. So somehow it is taken as a sign of your professionalism, a sign of your skill, that you know what the range should be. That's one argument. One argument that people say is, okay, if the employer doesn't give the salary range, it then allows you to negotiate more freely. So that is one argument. But to me, a lot of these arguments don't make sense or don't hold water, because salaries do not exist in a vacuum. There's always a reference point. Whether the reference point is other people in the company doing similar jobs, like the open one now, or whether there's a collective agreement, or the last thing is the company budget. So there's always a reference. I mean, if you send in an application and you write down a salary range, a salary expectation that is, and then the employer interprets that to be way off. In order to be able to make that determination, they have a reference salary in their head. So so salaries don't just materialize out of thin air. There's always a reference point. So that's why, in my opinion, leaving the possible salary range out of the ads, to me, it really doesn't make sense. But it doesn't help. The fact that I'm sort of saying that it doesn't make sense. It doesn't help us at the moment. So what do we do? How do we find out? One thing that you need to remember is that there's no minimum salary legislation in Finland. So in many places there is a minimum salary for sort of every possible job in the country. In Finland there isn't. Salaries usually are determined by the applicable collective agreement. Over 80% of Finnish employment relationships fall under a collective agreement of one sort or another. So in most cases, there is a reference point. Most cases, there is some sort of regulation around salaries. And here I have a quote from the Employment Contracts Act. And if there is no collective agreement, there's no generally applicable collective agreement. And if the employer and the employer haven't agreed on anything, it says here what the salary should then be. The employee shall be paid a reasonable normal remuneration for the work performed. So then we also have to find out what is the reasonable normal remuneration for the work performed. And that is sort of an industry, that's industry specific, but also industry sort of specified in that sense. So what do we start finding out? Before we go there, let's first talk about what are common salary systems in Finland. There are different ways that salaries are determined. One of the most common ones these days is a salary system whereby the job itself has a demand level. So the employer has determined that the job is at a certain demand level within the company or within the industry. And that sets the base salary level. And then on top of that, you get personal performance related component. usually that component is at maximum less than 50% of the demand component. So the demand component is the sort of the basic salary, and then you add the personal performance level on top of that. So that is a very common way to structure the salary. Some salary systems are basically just at the job demand level. So for example, in healthcare sector, you might have sort of basic sort of normal I would say normal nurses or sort of general nurses, and then you have those who have higher responsibilities and things like that. But even in those cases, there usually is some additions that might be based on some specific training or specific skills. There might be additions based on the years worked and things like that. Then another one is personal performance. And this is usually quite high up in hierarchy, in sort of in upper management level, where the salary is more based on negotiation. It's more based on what you perform and how well you do, and you might be set some goals that you have to achieve and things like that. Then salaries that are based on commission. These are usually in sales jobs. You might have a basic salary, and then on top of that, you get commission based on the amount of sales or client work that you do. And then there are salary systems that are just based on job description. And this means, this is usually, for example, in grocery stores and stores like that you are a salesperson, thereby this is your salary. Those usually also have additions, or the pay scales go depending on how many years you've worked, and especially, for example, in sales jobs in grocery stores and places like that, salaries are higher in the Helsinki region than they are elsewhere. And then you can have sort of piecework or output-based salaries. And for example, in agricultural work where people are picking berries or fruit and things like that, the salary is based on how much you pick. So those are sort of the most common ones. And then you have to find out, okay, what to ask for. And the core, or the sort of the best source of information, are trade unions, obviously. They have the best knowledge. Then obviously, if you are a member of the trade union, you can call them and ask and tell them that, okay, I'm applying for this and this type of work and this type of industry. What do you think is the proper salary range? If you're not a member, then it's more difficult. But some trade unions publish at least sort of salary surveys that they do. Academic engineers and architects, for example, TEK, they have a lot of good information on their web pages if you are an engineer or an architect. Then in those fields where you have a generally binding collective agreement, those collective agreements are available online. And what generally binding collective agreements mean, that if the unionization level in that industry is above a certain threshold, the collective agreement that has been negotiated for that field becomes generally binding. And that means that every employer in that field has to abide by that collective agreement, whether or not they themselves are unionized. And those generally binding collective agreements are available online, so you can see what the pay scales are. One good example of that, for example, is the commercial sector's collective agreement. So those are, for example, those people who worked in grocery stores. So their salary ranges are easy to find out. But then, so those are sort of the primary sources of information. And if you're not a member, you cannot call, but you can find out. But then another thing is a good source is statistical information that's available. Duunitori has a service whereby they use Statistics Finland information and information that they've collected themselves from people. So that is quite good. Then there are online sources where people have sort of volunteered their salaries and given their job descriptions, and then you can use that. That is, that is not so reliable because you don't know the range of job descriptions or how many people have answered and things like that. Let's see if I can do this. I'm gonna, because what I wanted to do is what I wanted to show you, the Statistics Finland, how that works. So hopefully you can see, nope, this one here. And tell me if you can see the Statistics Finland webpage now.
Yes.
Good. All right. So this is now in Finnish, but let me show you how this works. They have different statistics for private sector and public sector salaries. And here the first one, it says public sector monthly salaries based on profession. So I'm going to click that, and it gives salary ranges. So it gives the average, it gives the lower 10%, it gives the median, it gives the highest 10% here. So what we're going to do, I'm going to select all of these so we get an idea. And then it was 2019. I want to do men and women separately, so you also see the salary ranges for men and women separately. And I'm going to choose here, there are a number of professions. I mean, this is a huge list of different types of professions that the Statistics Finland uses for its statistical purposes, but I've pre-selected one. So these are HR consultants, HR partners, recruitment consultants, and people like that. There we go. And you see this one here is the average. So this is average pay for a monthly pay for an HR consultant or people sort of specialists working in the HR field. And for men, it's 4,682. For women, it's 4,154. And then you get the lowest 10%, what they are making. And this is the median. And I want you to pay attention to this figure now. So it's for men, it's 4,120, and for women, it's 3,855. And these are the highest. So there's a lot of range, but the range is because there are, even though they have the same sort of statistical classification, in this, there actually are a number of different types of jobs that are in this category. But anyway, let's focus on the median. So then on the Duunitori website that also uses the Statistics Finland salaries as their base, they sort of combine it a little bit differently with their data. And what they give you as a salary for an HR specialist is 3,658. So it's a little bit lower than what we just had. But that sort of combining these two will give you an idea. And here in Duunitori, you can also look at sort of, this is the HR what was I, specialist, but then there are also managers here.
Minna, sorry, the
Yes.
chat is asking, are we talking about gross salaries?
Yes, they're
Okay,
always
great.
gross, always. Yes, because we don't know what we don't know that people's deductibles or anything else. So we have to talk about gross salaries.
Yeah, in some countries we talk about net, and some country gross. It depends, but here in Finland it's always gross. Thank you.
Yes, it's always gross because taxation is personal. So you cannot, for example, when I'm a hiring manager, I cannot say what your net income will be because I don't know your deductibles. I don't know what you can deduct from your taxes. I can talk about your gross salaries. So here, let's look at the HR manager. I'm going to switch. Okay, HR manager. So this is the manager then. Let's see what it gets. It's 4,277. Okay. So those are looking at those, talking to the trade union. Those will give you, I think, a relatively good sort of figures to start from. And then one way we talked about taxes is that I've never done this myself, but I know that some people do. For example, if you're applying to a place where there is a person who does a similar sort of job, you can go and get their tax information from the tax office and see how much money they sort of, what is their taxable income a year. That only gives you a ballpark figure because the information that you get from the tax office does not give you the gross income of a person. It gives you the taxable income of a person. So all the deductibles have been taken away already, and it doesn't tell you where that person gets the income from. So for example, if I have a salary, but in addition to that, I have a personal business that's that I also get income from. The information that somebody would get from the tax office about my income, it wouldn't show where I got that income from. So using that income information as a way to get to somebody's salary can be tricky and doesn't give you necessarily a really good idea. So you can do it, but you have to be aware of the fact that the figures that you get from the tax office don't necessarily reflect the person's gross salary. So I would rather use this sort of trade union and Statistics Finland and things like that, rather than going and looking up somebody's income, because you never know. So you have then an idea of the range. And then in terms of the range, what you do have to consider is, what is the sector? Is it the private sector? Is it the public? Is it a third sector employer? Salaries in the private are usually higher than in the public, and in the public sector, they're usually even higher than in the third sector, for example. You have to take into consideration the field, obviously. The company, is it a big one? Is it a small one? In terms of the position that you apply for, is it sort of a starting or basic? Is it an expert? Is it a senior expert? What are the responsibilities? Do you have responsibility over people and over big budgets? Other job characteristics, and then obviously your own qualifications and skills. So when you get a range from Duunitori or from Statistics Finland, you can then start narrowing it down a little bit based on these criteria. And obviously, in the job application or in the cover letter, you usually just sort of write 1-2 sentences about your about the salary that you expect to get. But it's good to have some sort of a justification why you are asking what you're asking, because that also shows that you've done your research. So then once you've gotten the job, then there's also sort of, you know, how do you know if what you are getting is comparable to what people in the company in the similar positions are getting? And if you work in the public sector, then it's easy because public sector salaries are public. But in the private sector, you have no sort of direct access to anybody's salaries. In Finland, asking somebody, so how much are you making, is not what people normally do. You can ask, but depending on who you're asking, you might offend somebody really badly, or they might be very willing to talk about it. So it depends. But I just looked at sort of a general work condition survey that the Statistics Finland does every year. And the latest information is from 2018. And they asked, one of the questions that they asked was that, let me see, are salaries and personal additions to the salaries widely known or commonly known in the workplace? And in 2018, 16% of Finnish employees responded that, yes, I completely agree that at my workplace, we know each other's salaries and everything that it's included. So 16% of Finnish employees said that they did know that. And funny enough, that percentage has come down. Since 2003, 23% of Finnish employees said that they are aware and know the salaries at their workplace. So pay transparency in Finland is really, really low. And if you suspect that you are being unfairly treated in terms of pay, it's really difficult to actually find out if that's true or not. The Equality Act between women and men gives an avenue of trying to find out, or sort of trying to find out if you are being discriminated against in terms of pay because of your gender. But that is also a rather cumbersome way to do it. For example, if you suspect that you are being discriminated against in terms of salary based on your gender, you can contact your shop steward and tell them about your suspicion, and name, for example, name a comparison person within that company with whom you want your salary to be compared. The shop steward can contact the person and say that, would you mind sharing your salary information? Because we suspect that there might be gender discrimination. If the person says, no, I don't want to share that information, the shop steward does not have any legal right to access that information. What they can do is to contact the ombudsman for equality, and they can then start working to get access to that information. But they can only access that information if they have a credible suspicion of discrimination. So it's you know, it takes time and it's rather cumbersome. Couple of weeks ago, I wrote a blog about the changes that the current government is planning on doing to that legislation. And the plan is, and we'll see if that works out or if that goes through, to make it easier to find out these comparison salaries within the company. The employer side was not very happy about these possible changes, but we'll see if it happens. The legislation also requires that all employers that employ more than 30 people should do a equality plan, and that equality plan should also include a pay survey. And the intention of that pay survey is to make sure that men and women get the same salary for same type of jobs. Companies should do this every 2 years or so, and they are supposed to share this information, the results of their pay survey, with the shop stewards. So the shop steward should be aware of the results of the pay survey. They should be aware of if there are gender discrepancies in salaries based on gender. If the companies find that the sort of men or women are paid more for similar jobs, they should also make plans on how to improve that or how to change that. And that is all included in the equality planning. I think it was last year, the government did a sort of a study of how well this equality planning and how well these pay surveys are done in companies, and the results were mixed, to put it sort of mildly, I guess. There were several different types of problems with these equality plans and pay surveys. For example, the law requires that similar demand level jobs are compared against each other. So not just the same jobs, but similar jobs, equally demanding at equal level in sort of the demand level should be compared against each other. Sometimes in big companies, there might be people who fall under different collective agreements, and the comparison should go across these collective agreements for who are within the same collective agreement, but everybody across the company, for example. So there were sort of problems with how these pay surveys were executed. Another type of problem that also came up was just how well these results were being communicated to the personnel. So I can't remember from the top of my head, but it was not a very big percentage of people who knew of the existence of these pay surveys, let alone of the results of these surveys. So there's a lot that still needs to be done in this respect. Okay, let me see if I skipped over something. Oh, yes. So now, Lucia prepared a poll. Could you put that poll up?
Yes, 1 second.
Thank you.
The second, because it seems that the Zoom is not really working correctly, but
let me, if I stop the share, maybe that helps it.
sorry, it's a bit slow, but I'm doing the best, I guess.
No, that's fine. I'm going to read some of them. It's okay if it doesn't, then we'll just go.
Sorry, be patient with me.
Okay, well, while Lucia's doing that, let me just talk about just sort of put things together. So knowing what to ask for and then knowing whether you are being paid fairly starts from sort of understanding the salary structure in your current job. Okay, what does your salary consist of? Do you have a demands component and a performance component? How can you affect your salary? What do you need to do in order to be able to increase your salary? In some collective agreements, they have written in a yearly performance review, for example. And usually those are the instances in which you can advocate for more salary for yourself. Though, there you go.
Can you see? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I missed your line.
Yeah. Yep. So in some cases you have this yearly review, and then that is the time and place to ask for more pay. If in any case, when and if you are asking for more pay, it's crucial to understand what your salary system consists of. What are the criteria against which your performance will be measured? It's always good to have numbers, or if you have your own personal KPIs, if you have something that you've agreed to with your manager, how have you fulfilled those and things like that. So come armed with facts. And then if you are a member of a union, union is always a good source. The shop steward at your workplace is a good source to find out about salary levels at your company and to see whether your salary is comparable. Transparency per se is a good thing, but I don't know how, let's say, I don't know if it's going to backfire if you go to your colleagues and start asking about their salaries. What you might want to do is to say that, okay, I am concerned about whether I am being paid what I'm supposed to be paid. Do you mind if I tell you my salary? Would you then confirm if you are paid the same, or things like that? But talking about salaries in Finland is difficult. And I don't want to sort of encourage all of you to go and ask your Finnish coworkers of their salaries and then get really, really bad looks afterwards. I'm looking at my other screen to see that I have everything, but yeah, but it all starts from understanding what your salary consists of. Can you pull up the poll? Is it possible?
Of course.
Okay, let's see. I'm just interested in knowing how many people know. Okay.
Can you see it?
Yes, if you are currently working, do you know what collective agreement, if any, applies to your employment relationship? Okay, most of you said no. It should be in your employment contract. That's one of the information that your employer should have told you when you started working. So that is one piece of information that they are legally obliged to tell you. Usually it reads on your employment contract. If it doesn't read there, ask your manager. You can even ask for a copy of it, but it should be stated in your employment contract. And that knowing the collective agreement is really important for many reasons, because not only about salaries, but it usually has to do with annual holidays, for example, and things like that. And then it says, do you know what salary system your salary is based on? And almost 60% said yes. So that's good. So that's really good.
Is it a high percentage, 62% don't know that the collective agreement? Is it a huge number? considering that should be mandatory to be.
It is concerning to me also because, like I said, the sort of collective agreement is not only about salaries. It's about your rights and responsibilities, and especially in fields or in jobs where you have evening shifts and things like that. That gives you also how much you are supposed to be paid for your shift work and things like that. Anybody who's doing shift work, who's not on a sort of a regular monthly salary, but whose salary is based on hourly wages or things like that. What I suggest is that you write down each day, how many hours you worked, and check whether any of those hours fall in the time of day when you're supposed to get compensation for shift work and things like that. Because when you get the pay slip, it makes sense to check it. I mean, these days, a lot of these things are automated, but they can still be mistakes. So I encourage everybody to check that every month.
Stop the screen sharing of the results?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. I think I ran through all of my slides, especially the ones that So I think I've gone through most of the things that I want to say, and I think we have about 10 minutes, so it's good to maybe we should go through the questions.
Yes, please. If you have a question, you can please still writing them down. I have a few that I would like to address you.
Yes, please.
So one from Tina, sorry, she was asking, what about, we were talking about trade unions. She was asking, what about freelancers and consultants? Do they have their own trade unions, or does it depend on the industry they work in?
It depends on the industry. For example, journalists have their own. So the trade union system in Finland is a little bit sort of funny because some of them are based on profession, like for example, or education, like for example, MBAs have their own Suomen Economit, for example. But then you have these larger overarching trade unions, like for example, PAM, the commercial sectors, where you can have sort of different professions underneath the same trade union. So it can be a little bit tricky. But usually those who are sort of have a higher education, like architects, MBAs, university educated engineers and things like that, they usually have a profession specific trade union. And then, freelancers usually go with their profession, like I said, journalists, for example.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. And actually, about the trade union, this is a question that I did myself, and I have one answer from the chat, but I would like to ask you more. And is can you be part of the trade union if you are unemployed? And the answer is yes.
Yes.
But then how can you choose your own if you don't have a job?
Well, usually you do have a sort of a line of work that you're pursuing, and trade union membership is per application. So you can apply and see whether, and sort of research and see whether this one is good for you, for example. But let me just, make one very, very important point. In Finland, trade unions manage unemployment funds, but you can be a member of an unemployment fund without being a member of a trade union. Usually when you join a trade union, you also join their unemployment fund, and you get the two, the fees of the two, both the trade union membership fee and then the unemployment fee, and you pay those together. but you don't have to be a member of a trade union to be a member of that union's unemployment fund. Trade union membership obviously then gives you access to these type of advisory services that you won't get if you just join their fund. So, but I just want to make sure that people understand. People come from different cultures, and for some, trade union membership might not feel comfortable, for example. But the unemployment fund, you can still join that one, and that is crucial for your unemployment benefits. Obviously, if you are currently unemployed, joining the unemployment fund right now won't increase your benefits, but down the road, it makes a huge difference.
This is a good advice. So please join. Like as you said, for some culture can be uncomfortable. For example, I'm Italian, and then trade unions are very political.
Yes.
So it depends on your political belief more on than your actually line of work. So it's a totally different things in Finland.
But in Finland, but in Finland also, sort of being a member of a trade union doesn't tell you anything about that person's politics. And so in Finland, at the workplace, trade union membership doesn't give any political vibes in that sense. So it's not frowned upon, and it's not you're not going to be discriminated against if you join the trade union or anything else. So I just want to make that clear as well. But I know that there are a lot of sort of cultural differences, and different countries are different in this sense. So, but yeah.
Thank you, Minna. I'll keep reading you the question in the chat if you don't mind. There's one from Juan. She's asking, you were talking about the salaries, compared the information about other, for example, colleagues are available in the tax office. And one is asking, is the tax office information available for public for free?
Yes.
I think the answer
is yeah, it is. You need to know the person's name and where they live, and what municipality they live. That is the information you need to know, and then you get their taxable income information. But yes, it's publicly available.
And if they are rich, usually they are public every year into the Ilta-Sanomat.
Yeah, usually newspapers publish these annual sort of information on the very rich, but tax information is public, everybody's tax information. Yes.
Good. Then there is a question that is, hi, you talk about big numbers, so people have no high expectation. I think cleaners get 1,700 euro gross, and phone service 1,600 euro, engineer 5,700, etc. I had higher expectation on salary as I moved to Finland from Estonia. So I don't really know the questions, but do you think those salary range are correct, Minna?
Pretty much, yeah. So
compared to Estonia, Finland has much higher salary.
Yes, they do.
That's great.
Yeah. But living expenses are also higher in Finland than here in Estonia.
Yes. So Gina is asking, if one switch career path, should the previous years of experience in related but not exactly same field be taken into consideration when negotiating the salary? That's a really good question.
Well, I mean, it depends. It doesn't hurt to ask, and but I think in Finland, especially with the culture that I think it's important to be able to justify one's ask. And by justification, usually numbers are good, or some sort of concrete hard evidence. If you can back things up, if you can back your ask up, and if you can sort of justify why your previous experience from this field, even though you are now changing into another one, should be taken into consideration, make that case. I would not exclude it, but I think it's important to be able to make the case.
Thank you, Minna. And then we have another question from Carmen, and she's asking, considering the progressive incremental income taxation, how can I find out the net value of a gross salary? The simplest calculation method for an approximate value? You know where she can find this?
Yes, you go to the Vero, vero.fi, Vero web pages, Finnish tax office web pages. They have tax calculators that you can calculate your approximate tax percentage. And when I was hiring foreign researchers to Finland, that's what I always told them to do. I sent them the link and said that you can check this, because there you can also you put down how many kids you have, where you live, are you a member of the Lutheran Church, which also taxes you, and things like that. You can put down deductibles, deductions that you might have, and things like that, so that you can estimate your tax percentage, and then you can get use that to calculate your net. Yeah.
Thank you. A lot of questions are coming. People were shy at the beginning, but now they are on fire. So another question is, what percentage age of salary increase can be expected reasonably when switching jobs in a similar field?
Say that again. What
percent age, not sure myself what she's asking,
okay.
of salary increase can be expected reasonably when switching jobs in a similar field? What percentage age? I'm not sure what she meant.
Okay. Yeah. So you're aiming for a higher salary when you're switching jobs. I don't know if I can give you a figure, because that would then, I think, depend on what kind of what is your new employer? What is the, for example, is it a bigger company? Are your responsibilities changing perhaps, and things like that? But again, I think the best advice that I can give everybody is to try to back everything up in terms of give good justifications why you're asking what you're asking. And the more concrete those are, and concrete, I mean, like, it's not a justification to say that I feel like deserve this, but something that's very concrete. Like, for example, the number of I'm going to have a bigger budget to manage, or whatever, or I had a really big budget to manage, so I'm good at this, or something like that. These types of arguments. Okay. Did we lose Lucia, or is she reading the questions? I can get them. Oh, I can't hear you, Lucia.
Sorry,
okay.
my connection went down.
Yeah,
sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry, I can get you another question, and it was, is a career gap considered while deciding a salary for a position?
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that question. I was thinking, I don't think there is a yes or no answer to that one either, because I think maybe this person is referring to, like, in these situations when you move to Finland and you might be unemployed for a long time before you get a new position. Again, if you can show that you've kept up with your skills or increased your skills during the gap and things like that, then it's easier to justify why that gap should not be taken into consideration. I'm always getting back to sort of justifications. and sort of reasons why you are asking what you are asking.
That's great. And I think we can take the last question, and then we can release Minna. And it's from Joseph, and she's asking, how can you find out the average salary if you are working in a different function than the collective agreement? For example, how can you compare the other professionals in your work function in different sectors?
I'm trying to figure out whether because, for example, in like I said, in big companies, people might fall under different collective agreements that have a little bit of different sort of structure, a little bit different euro sums for different demands level. But in terms of the pay survey, they are supposed to find jobs that are sort of similar demand. Demands might be, for example, how many people you are managing, what is the budget, what is, what happens if something goes wrong, and things like that. If you are working in a company where you have these different collective agreements, you compare your salary primarily when you are asking for a salary. You are comparing it to person within the same collective agreement, but you can also sort of figure out, okay, that job is similar to mine in terms of the demand. I think I can sort of ask for more, because one thing that I want to emphasize is that salaries that are in collective agreements, those are what you are supposed to be paid at minimum. You are always free to ask for more. I mean, there are no gaps. I mean, the collective agreement system does not gap your salary. Employers might use it as sort of a gapping system as well, but in reality, it's not in that sense. So, you think you're being paid too little, you might try to get some more, but justifications, yeah.
I can see that it's Kairi that she's having her hands up. Would you like to unmute yourself? Maybe we still have a couple of minutes, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I'm here on the playground with a kid, and I asked her to be quiet a little bit. So my friend works in a daycare as a nurse. She only works 6 hours per day. I think she gets like 1,400, 600. I don't know exactly. But the problem is the contract ends with May, and maybe they start another contract in August. And this is very common with these people with a contract, that they get no pay for the summer. So she doesn't have this yleinen työttömyyskassa, which in English is something like general unemployment
fund. Yeah.
Yeah. But then I suggested her to do it quickly before she becomes unemployed, either a trade union or this fund. And she starts collecting this 6 months, and after that she can get some kind of a reimbursement if she gets employed. But right now she doesn't, but just the time starts running and like this, right? Yeah. And which one is better? Trade union is more expensive, like 400 euros a year, and the general fund is like 119 euros. And what is the difference in how much she gets back later? But she's already 61, so
yeah. In terms of the unemployment benefits, it doesn't make a difference which fund you belong to, because everybody gets the same. The benefits are calculated the same. Then in terms of it matters what trade union belong to, because when the trade union is in your own field, they can advise you better. Then they know what they're talking about. But in terms of the unemployment benefits that you get, then it doesn't make a difference, because everybody gets the same. It's calculated the same way. But what Kairi was referring to is that in order to be eligible for salary-based unemployment benefits, you have to have been employed for a certain number of weeks before you become unemployed. So that's why if you are a resident in Finland, you have sort of residency here, it does make sense to join an unemployment fund the second you become employed, because then the clock starts ticking. So it is important.
This would be like the TE-toimisto or Kela money, like 600 euros plus the private vapaaehtoinen, like you can choose if you want to.
Yeah, then you don't, I mean, if you are a member of the unemployment fund, you don't go to Kela at all in the beginning. You go to Kela then after you run out of the salary-based benefits.
You only think at a time, yeah?
Yeah, only one thing at a time. Yeah.
Okay, and how, the difference, I don't even know. Okay,
it's a significant difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a significant difference. Yeah.
Yes, thank you for the reply.
Yeah.
Tell my.
Yeah.
Marco, is it a quick question?
Yeah, hi. Actually, it's a very quick tip because I've been in the similar situation when helping some of our clients, and it's again about trade unions, which seem to be a hot topic. How to find out which one is the trade union that works best for you. One tip that might be useful is to, first of all, if you know someone that works in the same field as you, of course, ask them. If you know somebody from the company you wish to apply, ask them. But another quick tip is to check which union belongs to the same educational degree that you've done. So let's say business students, they have the economy, for example, they can help you out figure out which one is the trade union for you. As it happens in Finland, most students join the union while being students or during the last year, usually of their studies, or some they do at the beginning. It depends. I joined, for example, when I was a student at the very beginning. So I've been belonging to my trade union right away. So that's a good way to see what is your education, see what is the matching education in Finland, see which trade union belongs to that education career path. But if you're still unsure, there are three main, if I remember correctly, there should be three main union confederations in Finland. That's the Central Organization of Finnish Trade Union, the Finnish Confederation of Salaried Employees, and the Confederation of Unions for Academic Professionals in Finland. I'm gonna post this in a comment so you can track back. And under each of these three, there are, I would say, all the trade unions available in Finland. So you can contact this confederation and they can help you out figure out which one is the right for you. But the three top tips are: check with friends that are working in the same, if they're working in the company you want to apply, or in a similar company in the same field you want to work for. Check with students, with universities or University of Applied Sciences, which unions they recommend to students starting a degree in a similar field as you, or check these three confederations, which are the main in Finland. That's about it.
Grazie, Marco.
No problem.
I posted on the chat the contacts of the union, so if anybody wants to check. But now we passed our time, so I'm going to stop the sharing on the screen.